Fatherhood?
Hey.
So what do we dive into today, guys?
Yo.
I'm celebrating a birthday today. Not me, my daughter,
Which daughter?
the youngest of the
His
three
youngest.
kids. She's turning 8 today.
Brr, 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 brr.
Yeah, if we had our sounds, it would work, but no. And we celebrated my oldest turned 17 a little over a week ago. So
Nice.
we've just been
Nice. All right. Happy belated and happy birthday. Do you is your daughter allowed the day off of school or she got to go to school?
We gave her the option.
Really?
Yeah, we just like, the more I age, the less I'm like with the social standard of school and the way I was brought up. Because I look at that shit as like when you
What does that mean? That you have to go?
No. I still want my kids to go to school and do well and all that good stuff, but I don't take it as serious as I expected I would at this stage. So, for example, like, we would be hard and fast, like not planning vacations throughout the school year because we don't want them to have to miss any days off, right?
Right.
But then I'm like, I mean, if they miss a couple days here and there because we were on vacation, like, not a big deal. We won't purpose, like, we're not trying to have them miss weeks and shit. But like, I don't take it as serious. And with her birthday, we were like, yo, you want to stay home for your birthday? But my daughter, she's the youngest one. She's like, she loves the attention. So she wants the whole week is like birthday week at school. So she gets to be like, because they divide tasks and stuff in the classroom. So she gets the best one of them, and people are giving her props and all this stuff. And so she loves that stuff. So she's like, no, I'll go to school. But yeah, so she left real hyped today. Like,
okay.
yeah, I'm going to school today.
Yeah, man, my son he'd have been campaigning for a day off of school months in advance.
Would you let him not go? Like, what would you do? Okay, what do you guys do?
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, his birthday typically now falls on, now that we're in this new school starts like almost the same day or like a day before his birthday. And
so he kind of has to go because
no.
Oh, no?
He'll go to, like we've done in the past like 2 years. It's 2 school years. He'll go to like, let's say his birthday's on a Friday or whatever, right? And school starts on Wednesday or Thursday. Go to the first day, and then we tell the teachers like straight up, like, oh, we're out of here for for the week, for the long weekend or whatever. So
Isn't the attendance used down the line for like scholarship stuff or no?
I'm sure.
Maybe not elementary school. Probably doesn't matter.
Once you crack, I want to say it's maybe 7th grade, maybe like, what do they call it? I call it junior high, still middle school. I think that's when they start to really tabulate things.
They make a big deal of it already at my daughter's elementary school.
Dude,
like
well,
the whole attendance.
I'll tell you why that. So what I learned from dealing in both public and private schools is that, the attendance means a totally different thing on the public school side of things. So,
Funding.
basically a day that a kid is not at school, that's reflecting upon potential funding for the school. So they have, I guess, certain thresholds they have to meet in terms of, and I don't know this super in depth, but from
Right. That makes
my
sense.
understanding is, yeah. So it's like, aside from kids missing work and all that stuff, but it's also that attendance is crucial to funding for the schools from the school districts.
Because I'm like, the way that they stress it and they give like awards and all this stuff, I'm like, man, kids get too sick too often for that to be a thing, bro.
Has to keep that money coming in, man.
And they're trying to, I don't want to use it like condition makes it sound like a bad thing, but they're trying to get them into the habit of having that be a routine also. But it feeds into all the public school funding thing is a real thing. Like they really need the numbers
every week, every day for something. This week is a cat. What's his name? A Dr. Seuss week, where every day you can pay to dress up as Dr. Seuss stuff. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
You have to pay.
Right.
Wait. Do they go in uniform to the
Yes.
thing? Okay,
Yeah.
that's why.
But you couldn't tell me my daughter has a uniform because we pay every day for some out
Right.
of uniform stuff. It's crazy. And then like right now we have which I'm excited. I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited. It's our first daddy daughter dance,
Dope.
which I think is way too young to be like in
Nah.
kindergarten. If they do it every year, it's not so special anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought like it's like a special thing, you know, as they're older.
Do they do it in other grades, or is that just a kindergarten thing?
No, I think it's the whole school.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. And then it's a fundraiser. You
Okay.
pay
Got
to be
it,
able to
got
go.
it,
They even put up on IG like sold out. Like
Right.
making a big deal about it, like making other dads feel bad that they
Trying to
didn't
give
make
you-
it, you know, like jerk.
Give me
Yeah.
that FOMO.
So
wait, so you go into this thing?
yeah, tomorrow.
Oh.
So what's up? What's the attire? Because you
Bro, I'm not
Adidas
dressing up.
kicks, shorts, and a towel.
No,
bro.
not shorts, not shorts. But my daughter's dressing up. She's all like showing me the dance that she's gonna do one of her ballet dances, and she expects me to like do a ballet bow to her, which I'm gonna try and do. And I don't know what it's gonna be. It says on the thing DJ so and so, and it's in the cafeteria, so they'll
You
probably
know him?
dress it up. No, I don't know. DJ so and so.
Yeah.
Imagine. Oh man, I hope not. I mean, I told you recently, or not recently, but the other day, they had a fundraiser. It was a a food truck, icy food truck,
Uh-huh.
and my daughter's excited. So we're there in the line and to get it. And it's after school, and the dude was like, "Oh, drink champs!" Wanted to give us an extra joint. I'm like, "Nah, bro, these are the kids and family here, man. What are you doing?"
Right.
We're talking about ice cream, folks. Not that the ice cream man has joints. This ain't
No, no.
This
The
ain't
joint
Friday.
equals ice cream. No,
Yeah.
no.
This ain't the movie Friday, guys.
Right.
But that
Yes,
would be awkward
so-
if they know me, if the DJ knows me.
Huh.
So the kids were saying drink champs or the
No.
Okay.
The guy in the food truck was like a young dude that ran it. It was cool, but it's just, to me it's awkward. Like the drink champs thing, anything around the kids in school, like that to me is a little weird.
I'll tell you one thing, and I wasn't expecting this, but I guess there's a couple factors, age being one, and kind of what these kids are into versus what drink champs kind of concentrates on. But so I got a chance to speak at career day at my old high school in the Bronx. And as part of what I was talking about was just my entrepreneurial exploits. And I talked about, us as fatherhoods, and then, my how I work with drink champs every so often and that kind of thing. And it was blank stares.
Yeah, they don't know what it is.
I know, but it shocked me because in my circles, my peers, very easy for them to understand. And they're like, oh shit. But with these kids, it's like, what is that? And I didn't even begin to like go down the rabbit hole. I was just like, all right, cool. Yeah, you probably never heard of it. Whatever.
It's surprising how old they think we are, these young kids now.
Oh yeah, dude. They're like, we're grandparents to them.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it though. When we were their age, like 40s, 50s, forget about 60s. Like if you're touching 60, you might as well be dead.
Yeah. I mean, they do say though that generationally things have changed where our age feels younger because of life expectancy and certain things, So we're like, and then they have your real like physical age thing. That's a thing medically. That's really a thing. Like your doctor will be like, this is your real age and this is your medical age, which could be older.
Oh,
got it.
Or younger.
Yeah, you beat yourself up too tough, and now you're like,
yeah,
right. Okay.
Like you're 48, but you're 108, and you might die tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Do you know your medical age?
No, I saw this on social media, so maybe
it's not real.
no, it seems pretty real. It made sense what I saw. But what I'm trying to say is I think that times have changed where our age in our generation, it doesn't identify with that, or it doesn't even look age-wise the way that, when we were younger, these people, like, freaking teenagers look like grown-ass people. I remember people coming to my junior high, like grown-ass men, and they were just in high school, and they had bigotes and, like the 6 o'clock shadow or whatever. Like, it's crazy. I think times have changed, but maybe that's just me because I'm old and I want times to change.
Right.
I saw, I think it was recent. I saw like high school standout high school athletes. I think they might have been football players. Bro, they looked like in their mid-20s, like full beards, like the whole bit, and they're like 16.
No way. Full beard,
Way,
16?
way. And they're like 185 pounds, like solid, like 6'5", like crazy. And they just looked like old man, bro. Like LeBron James for a while when he started, he looked like an old ass dude.
No, he looks like the same person when he was in high school.
Exactly. Just a little more facial hair.
Manny, go back to your speech though, at the school. That's pretty dope. Congrats, by the way. That's kind of dope that you did that.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
How old were the kids? So like high school
Juniors,
age, right?
yeah,
Juniors?
juniors and
Okay.
seniors.
Okay.
And I'm a big, so the school I went to is called St. Raymond High School in the Bronx, and it's known for basketball. I mean, academically it's solid too, but I'm a big fan of the basketball team. I've been following them since I left school, and I'm friendly with the head coach. And so some of the kids that I was talking to happened to be on the basketball team. And then as I was preparing for the conversation, I was looking at, because I'm going through this with my own daughter, right? My 17-year-old, like the type of anxiety that these kids likely feel as they're approaching making decisions around where they want to go to school and that kind of thing. And it was an interesting dynamic because you got some kids that are very likely getting Division I scholarships to play ball at pretty much what school they want to go to. Then you got everybody else who has to be figuring out what they're gonna do. And I kind of like polled them a little bit. And I was like, yo, so what do y'all think? Do y'all know what y'all gonna do after you graduate? And a lot of them, more than the average, knew that they had a plan. Whether that was I'm going to college, I'm gonna go find a career, whatever. And I was
How many
surprised.
students? About?
In total, there were probably 150,
Okay.
something like
In the
that.
room? Yeah.
Nah, I mean, I had them split up into 4
Oh, okay.
sessions.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that's a challenge, right? Talking to a group of kids for 30 minutes, trying not to, and it's all boys. It's an all boys school. So boys goof off all day long. That's what we do.
Right.
And I was able to keep them engaged enough in the conversation where they didn't goof off, they didn't fall asleep, they listened, and they were able to ask a few questions. But it was really interesting how, like, doing my research before approaching the class, 75% of kids that are graduating high school have no idea what school they want to go to, what they want to study, or what they want to do after college. And I was like, yo, so as parents, me as a parent, I was putting a lot of undue pressure on my daughter early. Like as soon as she entered high school, I was already thinking like, yo, we got to start strategizing like how we're going to go to college, what you want to do, feel it out. Asking her some questions, but not really going too hard. And then as the years went on, I've started pressing her more. But as soon as this year hit, I backed all the way off because you could tell like there's anxiety and there's a lot of like questions. And growing up feels like it's going to suck because they see like real life as like, you got to go to a job and all this stuff. So I kind of just let her loose. But after that experience talking to those kids, like, I was like, that's probably the right approach, and just feeling them out on how they're thinking about things was actually pretty cool. And for them, like I polled them at the end too. I was like, yo, was that whack? Did y'all get some value out of that? And every time they were like, nah, that was cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Which again, could have easily gone the other way, and it could have been a
That's hard.
brawl.
That's hard to engage that age, man. For
It's
sure.
tough.
Yeah.
For
And
30
you did
minutes.
the
Yeah.
same combo for each session?
Yeah, I had a presentation, so I just went through it
Oh,
and kind of
okay.
with my own like
Nice.
spin to it. Yeah.
You're a hell of a guy, bro. I've been
No.
asked to do that, and I'm not up to it.
I mean, you barely like to be on a Zoom call. Like, why?
Yeah,
What?
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody. It's tough.
I just don't feel even confident as an example, to be honest with you. Like I'm not saying I'm a bad example, but I'm just like I'm still feel like I'm figuring certain things out, so I'm not really prepared to tell some other fucking people, hey, this is the way you need to do it, or this is how you should do it.
But I mean, so I was very careful about. I opened every one of those sessions with, "I'm here to share my perspective, my experience. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you some examples of things that I approached and mistakes I made, how I got through them, and things that I'm experiencing now, just for you to have a perspective on what life could look like if you decided you wanted to borrow from some of what I had to do."
What were some of the questions that they asked you?
So I mentioned to them this. I think this was where a lot of the questions came from. Well, how did you pick your college? I happened to go to college, so I they were asking me like what things I took into account. Why why I decided to quit the 9 to 5 route and go full-time entrepreneur, because I was at the height of it when I quit. Basically, I was a vice president at Yahoo, and I was like, "Yo, I'm done." So they were like, "Yo, you crazy? Like, why would you do that?"
Right.
So it was about that, and then I was surprised. I thought they were gonna ask me about like money, like how much do you make, or like stuff like that. They didn't really get into that. They were more just interested in like some of the pitfalls and like how I was able to pick myself up. And I went to 3 colleges in 4 years. So that was mind blowing to them too. Like, damn, that's a lot of change fast. And you got out of college in 4 years with all that, challenge in the way. So we just kind of, but it was really light on the questions. Like, I think they just took the information, was processing it, and then
took it for what it was.
Hopefully they did. Yeah.
Your kids ever ask you how much money you make? Is that something that you guys would ever share with your kids, like the
I don't want to.
financial health of
I barely tell my wife how much money I have.
It comes up in like cryptic ways. So like we went to a Knicks game this past week, and we had really good seats, right? And it wasn't like somebody hooked me up. I went and purchased them because it's something I really wanted to do. And they were pretty close to, they were like 4 rows back from the court, the actual court. So my son was asking me about the price of those tickets, and I divulged it to him, and that helped. He was starting to do like mental math around it, like, oh, and they still don't grasp what that means, right? If I told him $100, I might as well tell him $10,000, because to him in his mind it's practically the same thing. So but I don't share like what I make. But in some instances, when I close a deal here or there, I give them a frame of reference of what that deal amount is, so they can. And then I kind of switch and I say, "Yo, but look, our bills every month look like this. So look at this one deal and look at what our bills look like, so you can start to understand like how life works for us."
That's a good. That's good. Bring up the bill comparison. My son's always asking us, like, "What do you guys make? What are we poor? Are we what? Like what are like trying to figure out the category? You know what I'm saying?" I'm like,
yo, when I go to school tomorrow, should I feel poor or should I feel rich?
I want my kids to get to that point because they're too young and they don't grasp it. Like, yet my son woke up because I had drink champs yesterday, and he woke up today and he was excited to see me, and he's like, "Why do you have to work?" And I'm like, "Baba, I have to work so that we could pay for the house, buy food, buy your toys."
right.
But he doesn't really get it. He doesn't really get it. But I want him to understand, but I don't know, man. Fuck this life.
I try. So like, I try. I try not to make the mistake of positioning all this stuff as a stressor, because it could.
That's why I've said fuck this life, because I started thinking about it.
Yeah, you start getting stressed.
You like that bed you're sleeping in, right? That's why I got to work.
I try not to do that, because sometimes, like, when you're in the zone working and you got a ton of shit you got to get done, like, there's a level of stress that you feel. So you're trying to knock things out, and then your kid might want some attention or for you to spend some time. And then I found myself like being like, "Yo, you like that TV and the internet?"
Right.
All right, well, I got to go back to the office so I can make sure that thing doesn't get cut off. And then I'm like, that's not the example I want to set. I don't want them to have to feel like money is so limited. Like I don't believe that. I believe money is everywhere. You got to go get it,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's there. It's like I mean, as an example, right? And I won't put nobody like I won't specify who I'm talking about, but you can have an idea. And creatives, I think this is very much how a lot of things happen for
Am
them.
I gonna get offended?
No, I don't think so. I hope not. Um, so you come up with an idea, right? Let's just say it's a piece of art for the sake of specifying a creator type. And that piece of art to you has some significance, but then somebody else walks by, sees that piece of art, and is like, yo, and they have a vision for where that thing is going to live. And there's a certain value attached to that in their mind, right? So then those two people have a conversation. The purchaser purchases it, and it might exceed the expectation of what the artist expected, right? And now that piece of art transitioned from just a piece of art to monetary compensation, and then somebody got probably more value than they feel like they paid for it. And fundamentally, everything that you do is a sale, right? And that's why I always feel like money is unlimited, because you could almost literally create that shit just from an idea if you're put in the right place and circumstance and got the right relationships, etc. So I always try to position things to them that way so that they understand, like, it's not always I gotta go get on the hamster wheel, go get a job, wait for somebody
Right.
to pay me, all this stuff. Like, you can create those opportunities for yourself.
But I think you have to be careful too, because you have to also explain the reality of it's unlimited, but there's going to be times where you're gonna feel hopeless because that what's the
tapped in
word?
at that moment.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not surfing that wave at that moment.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
waves. So, and I think that there's a lot of people that fall into that pitfall where they're trying to be all like positive and they're like in a groove for like a couple months or a year or whatever, and then something happens out of their control and life takes a dip and they just feel hopeless. And that's actually the time where you need to ponerte los patines, how we say in Spanish, which is means get on that track where you get your creative mind going and look at life a little bit more positive when you least are expected to.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
when you really make lemonade out of lemons, you know what I'm saying?
it's never easy. Like, we're talking to y'all right now, and I hope this doesn't come across like, yo, it's mad easy. Do X, Y, and Z, and you'll be whatever, right? Like, it's not how it works. But what you just said, about even in your lowest lows, like, if you're still able to have that routine to, in this example, continue creating, or hustling at the job that you have, or hustling to get the other job that you want, or whatever that is, like, you can't lose hope because it's there.
You just need 1% in your battery. It's the
Yeah,
people that let it go to zero and can't get out of that. If you can,
100%.
doesn't mean you're gonna be at your lowest and perform at and be like, yeah, I'm gonna come out swinging. Nah, you might be struggling, but as long as you're fighting the fight, even at 1%, then it goes to 2%. Like, you just gotta like slowly recharge, and that's really, really at the end of the day, that's like what I want, like for my children to be able to have resilience in that way to weather those storms, you know what I'm saying? And when they're doing well, enjoy it. But just have have plans and preparations, but and be able to have those skill sets that when life throws the inevitable at you, which everybody's gonna have a downtime in their life, more than one, most likely, that they can weather that storm. And that's important, I think.
Okay, do you share with your son your wins and your losses when it comes to work?
Yeah. I don't know if I get deep into specifics, but like oftentimes and same with my wife, oftentimes like if he's going through like a school up and down or something like that, um, I'll often try to find a work example to let him know, like, look, this is what you're gonna, whether it's work or past businesses or anything, anything that I can show him in another real world example of something that I've gone through or my wife has gone through, that just to kind of show them like, look, the stuff that you're going through right now, this is in preparation for you to learn how to handle it, because guess what? This same kind of stuff is going to happen, you know, not to be a downer for them, but it's like, it's true. Like, this is the same stuff is going to happen later in life, whether you're at a job, whether you have your own business, you know, personal life, whatever it is. So figure out how to handle it now, learn from it, so you don't have to be a hardhead. And when you encounter this same kind of scenario when you're older, you're a little bit more well equipped, and you're not going to just fall apart with whatever it is. So I usually try to do it that way.
I don't do it enough, but it's something that I think is super important. Because if you're able to like, and sometimes it doesn't have to be an example. I typically do the same. Like when they're going through something high or low, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like da da da
Right.
da, and I try to connect those dots. But even just coming out, like I need to practice doing this, because I notice when I do it that there's like a light bulb that goes off in my kids' minds, and it triggers them to be more sharing as well, which is something we want to have as much open communication here as possible, because otherwise we're going to be kind of like our guest last week. Like there's a ton of stuff he just didn't know that his kids were up to, or got involved in. I want to try to limit the amount of things that they keep inside, and are more prone to sharing their things. But like even just out of the blue, like I work in the basement in my office here, and when I come upstairs, like literally like just coming out and be like, yo, you don't know what happened today. Or on the opposite end, like, man, I really screwed up X, Y, or Z. And just being able to be candid like that and show them like, yo, your dad is not just like this even keeled facade that you see most of the time. Like he goes through these things as well, but peep how he's handling it through how I communicate it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's probably that's interesting, because I probably don't share any like day. Yeah, it's almost like that question when, you know, we
Yeah.
ask our kids like,
What'd
so
you
how
do
was your
today?
day? Like, what'd you do? Like, you know, and then we kind of ask them and try to pull out what happened at school, or was anything, you know, funky happen or whatever, right? Just to get conversation or to learn about what's going on during the day. But on the flip side, I don't necessarily think that's not a regular thing that I'm gonna share. Like, oh, guess what? I just got off this call, and you know, this happened, or this deal went down, or you know what I mean? I don't. It's almost like the kids look at it as like, the work or whatever. Is this just?
Yeah, it's just this
That's all it
thing.
is. It's just fucking, yeah. It's this
Okay,
thing.
you don't think it would be mutually beneficial for? I feel like Manny kind of has done this in a way, but would it be beneficial to, like, maybe not something that's real stressful, but something that happened at work for you, to pick your son's brain as an exercise for him? Like, what would you do? Like, this is the situation. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a
Like,
good idea.
I think
That's
that
a
would be empowering for him, and
that's
like,
dope.
a
Yeah,
skill like him, and kind of dope for you, and just father and son, and just like a cool little exercise to do.
yeah. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try that. And I've taken him out to different works, and they're like, he knows the fun side, right, of
Right,
stuff,
right.
but I think just in general, it's not something that I just think about like, let me share these ups and downs, which we try to pull from our kids on their day to day. I'm gonna take your advice on that one.
Yeah, it's almost not fair, right? Because we're hounding them like, yo, how was your day? What do you mean you don't know? Blah blah.
Right.
Instead, like we don't set the tone either around that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
So,
does life suck?
oh, life is
Yeah.
beautiful, though. Life is so good. Yo, shout out to Steve Rifkin and Jerry Ferrara, Fatherhood's podcast alumni that was at the Knicks game
Oh,
the
that's
other day.
right. I forgot that Steve was on the show.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with his sons.
With
Yeah.
the Suns. Yeah. I
Oh,
didn't get to
Yeah.
wow.
talk to them, but I did see them from afar. So it was cool to be in the spot with other fatherhoods folk.
Nice. You guys saw that clip I sent right today, which is
Yeah.
kind of in line with what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting.
No, it was.
about
It
Therapy,
was.
no therapy
But
for
go ahead,
kids.
introduce it, bro. They don't know what we were talking about.
No, it was a Joe Rogan clip with I don't even know who the person was, but she wrote a book and it was talking about was it Generation Z? Gen Z?
Oh yeah, the high levels of anxiety in Gen Z versus other
Right.
generations.
And saying that therapy is not necessarily the right thing for because it's like a go-to for Gen Z,
Mhm.
and for parents of Gen Z to like put them in therapy. And
Right. The thing that was funny was just like the idea that she was saying like as parents or just no one in general, no one tells their kids to just like suck it up, get over it, all that kind of stuff anymore.
And one of the hardest, most worrisome parts of this generation is that they have the lowest sense of efficacy. They report an external locus of control, meaning they don't think they can improve their lives. See, millennials thought they could do anything, right? They are the Mark Zuckerberg generation. And that's why we had so many tech founders in that generation. We're not seeing that with these young people. They don't want to be in charge. They're afraid and they don't feel up to it. I talked to there's a friend of mine I call every year on her birthday, and she's a research scientist, cell biologist, and every year she invites kids to her lab for an internship who are top kids, pre-med graduates from college before they go on to med school. And she said to me in the last decade, when I called her this year for her birthday, she said to me, I can't believe you're writing about this generation. They are so different. And I said, tell me why. She said, I'm seeing the smartest, most prepared kids, and they're afraid to run their own experiments. They tell me they're getting ready. They're working on their skills. They're not yet up to it. And they constantly report to me about their mental health, how they're feeling today. They can't just take a chance and go with it.
It's weird because as a parent, like you want to hear kids out. And when they're having like some sort of anxiety, an issue, you want to talk with them and you want to talk through it. Sure. And you don't want to tell them, hey, you're going to have to suck it up. I never say that. And I probably should. I mean, I don't know if I should. But I mean, if I had boys, I probably would. I think I would probably treat them differently. But I think that there's a fine line. Like, where is the point of diminishing returns? Like, where is it valuable to address feelings and anxiety and thoughts? And is it irresponsible to do so without giving them tools to mitigate those things? And along with those tools, to explain to them that there's things that they're going to have to do in this life that are very difficult, right, but that there's a great reward in doing these very difficult things.
So the problem, as I see it, is not that you're not saying suck it up. It's that no one ever says suck it up, no matter how minor the scratch to these kids, okay? And sometimes being told you'll live. Remember when Dad used to say you'll live or, shake it off? We never hear shake it off anymore. No one says it. So they don't know they can overcome even minor injuries. And the truth is they can. They can. But they recently did these studies on these, coping techniques. They taught coping techniques to teenagers, over 1,000 teenagers in Australia. It was called the Wise Teens Program. They talked to, that was the point. It was just to help them with emotional regulation. And it turned out it made kids sadder and more anxious. They measured this. And the reason was regularly ruminating on your bad feelings can make you feel worse.
Did you talk to therapists when you did this?
Yeah, a lot of therapists.
Yeah. How many of them agree with you?
So there was a huge split. The academic research psychologists overwhelmingly agreed. They were aware of the literature and they said, yeah, these are bad practices. Here are things we shouldn't be doing with kids. What was interesting is a lot of the clinical therapists were either minimized the risks of therapy or denied that there were any.
But isn't that like Jiffy Lube? Like when you tell them, you don't need to change your oil that much. Well, it's their business to change oil.
Right. Exactly. So like I talked to this one amazing, child psychologist who said to me, I start by having my patients sign a waiver in which they acknowledge that there can be risks. And the reason I would do that is because I don't want them to experience harm. So if they see that their worries are getting worse, they have to tell me.
But do they? Would they? I mean, it seems like the therapist is the one who's in control, right?
Right.
The therapist is the expert. They're the one who has the authority.
Right. Well, I mean, this one was Camilo Ortiz was one of the, he was the one I talked to, and he was the one that I was referring to there. And first of all, he always starts a therapy by setting the number of sessions. It's not, he doesn't treat a kid like an annuity. You're going to, be my income stream for years.
Right.
He attacks, and also they come to him with an actual problem, like chronic bedwetting, like, various kinds of phobia. Mm-hmm. There are people who treat anorexia. They're tackling a problem.
Right.
And some of those therapies are extremely necessary and very successful.
When this person that you were just describing, if they get someone that comes to them that doesn't have a real problem, do they turn them away?
Well, you can ask, but very often the therapists don't turn them away. That's the problem.
Right.
Too many therapists. I mean, I saw, I think back to the first book, and I would ask, did anyone have a therapist who said, you know what, I don't think the trans identity fits you?
Right.
That doesn't seem to make sense to me. In almost no cases did the therapist stop a girl from going down that road. No, you don't have gender dysphoria. Listen, it's mostly little boys. Okay, it's overwhelmingly starts with little boys, and you see it in men. It's overwhelmingly male phenomenon, and it always starts ages 2 to 4. So you discovering this at age 12, let me tell you something, with your friends, it's so unlikely, we don't even need to go there. They never said that.
Well, I think they get scared of the blowback as well,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And what they would hear from their parents. You're telling my child they don't have a problem when they have a problem.
Well, also the incentive is for therapists to treat the least sick for the longest period of time. That's the incentive. Because you don't want the schizophrenic patient who really needs you.
Right.
They're really hard to treat.
Almost impossible.
Almost impossible, right? You don't want the bipolar patient.
Right.
Some people will refuse to see those patients. But a teenager with a little social anxiety, parent pays on time, they're not getting violent in your session.
Oh, boy. Wow. I never really considered that until your book. Until I heard the title of your book and I read the synopsis of it. I never really considered it. I never considered that thinking about your problems all the time and talking about your problems all the time literally make the problems grow.
That's right. I mean, it's the number one symptom of depression is what they call rumination, this pathological obsessing over your pain.
Yeah.
That's why stuff like exercise, that's one of the reasons, aside from chemical reasons, one of the reasons that doing anything, that running errands is good for your mental health, getting out of your house and accomplishing anything is good for you. But sitting around talking and thinking about your problems, that's a bad habit. And the best cognitive behavioral therapists and others, the dialectical behavioral therapists, the ones who do really well with depression, the first thing they do is try to break that bad pattern. But a lot of therapists just indulge it.
It's a luxury that's provided to you by a life that's fairly safe. People that live in war-torn countries and have very difficult lives, they don't have that luxury of just sitting around all day and doing nothing and, I go outside and run errands. That's going to make me feel better. You're dealing with real stress.
That's right.
And I think that there's an expression that someone told me once, and I say it all the time. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. If it's you got a dent in your car or it's your parents get killed in a car accident, either one of those things is the worst thing, depending upon the level of whatever stress or anxiety or horrible things that you've experienced in your life. That sort of measure, that's your watermark for what you can and can't tolerate.
That's right. And what we should be telling kids is that the amazing story of human history is of resilience. It used to be the case that people lost a sibling. That was common. People lost a parent. That still happens, right? These things still happen. And the amazing story of human history doesn't mean it's not painful, but of resilience. They get on. They aren't permanently suffering with mental illness or mental problem. They form families. They are responsible in their jobs. They show up for work. They can be depended on by their friends. That's the story of human survival and resilience. And unfortunately, we're telling kids, no, you've had trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, you've had trauma and you need to work through that trauma.
Right.
It's not just, this is just a part of life. And, you know, what you need to do is just go out there and live your life and you'll get over it.
And, you know, the thing is, the truth is that most kids and most people did. In other words, that didn't mean that dad didn't lose his job and they were forced out of the, you know, they had to lose their house, or these things happen. They've happened in every family. And I think one of the many reasons that kids don't know this today is we've cut them off from extended family. The story of their grandparents is a story of resilience in almost every case, right? You hear about your family history and you're going to hear a story of pain and survival and resilience and overcoming. But today you've got teenagers who say, oh, I can't drive past my middle school where I was bullied because of my PTSD. They don't have PTSD, but they think they do. And
what do they have, though? If you are bullied, that does have a significant psychological effect on kids, and it can lead to lifelong depression.
I don't know that it can. I mean,
I
no,
don't think
sorry.
so. Like for young people that like get treated like shit and told that they're nothing and useless, and that sort of like when I didn't really get bullied in high school, but I remember going back towards my high school when I was like 19, and I'd get anxiety.
Right.
I'd get weirded out by it, you know?
Right. So let me
'Cause
just say, yeah,
You start feeling like you used to feel when you went there.
absolutely. But that's not a PTSD flashback, right?
What is that?
That's a bad memory. And we have them. And by the way, when I say you can't have, you know, bullying can mean anything, right?
Right.
So when I say, I'm talking about teasing. I'm not talking about the horrific abuse that some kids have gone through.
Okay.
But do you have anxiety? Yeah, anxiety exists for a reason. It's actually adaptive. And so there are benefits to anxiety and there are negative parts of anxiety. Now, I'm not talking about anxiety disorder. We don't want anyone to suffer with an anxiety disorder that interferes with daily life. But a little anxiety, feeling bad, and a bad memory, that's not only part of life, but it can have positive effects. So some of the positive effects of anxiety is it helps with performance. If I weren't nervous for this right now, I wouldn't have prepared so much to make sure I remembered what I was going to talk about, right? And we don't want someone with no anxiety crossing a street because he's not going to look for cars.
Right. Yeah.
And we're going in with medication and we're deleting things like anxiety, depression. Anxiety helps you make beautiful memories. You remember Christmas morning because of all the nerves about it ahead of time, or you remember your first kiss partially because of the anxiety. That's why the memories are so clear.
Right.
And when we go in and we give kids a pill for that, not only are they not developing an emotional musculature they're going to need as adults, but they're losing a really important part of the human experience, like feeling low because you were dumped and then seeing you can get over it.
Right. That's a very important thing what you just said about experience anxiety. It actually helps you be sharper.
It does.
It really does. You have to be nervous before you do things.
That's right.
That are difficult. It's just that uncomfortable feeling people avoid.
Right.
Because they get scared of the anxiety. But if you talk to like one of the best examples is UFC fighters. UFC fighters before they're all nervous. They're all scared. Every one of them. Terrified.
Right.
And they don't want to fight if they're not.
Right.
If you're too calm and too relaxed, you actually have bad performances.
And I'll tell you something else. Same is true with depression. Now, I'm not talking about major depressive disorder that's chronic and needs treatment, of course, right? But if you have something bad happen to you, you go through a divorce, you go through something hard, okay? That doesn't mean you should never try, use meds or therapy if you absolutely need it. But there can be good. And here's what can be good, okay? Depression is adaptive. Okay, and the purpose, I learned this from interviewing a lot of evolutionary psychologists. And one of the good things about depression is it shuts us down so we don't do anything rash and we think about what change we might want to make in our life. Because sometimes we need to make a change. And if we just medicate away the bad feelings, the worst feelings might be dampened, but we also might be locked into that low state and never make the change we need to make.
Right.
Because we'll lose the motivation. That's the thing. We won't say, you know what? He treated me badly. I'm tired of this. I'm not getting back together with him.
Right.
We might just accept it and keep on.
Right, especially if you're medicated.
Especially if you're medicated.
Yeah.
That will to make a big change often happens after we've been brought low.
But
That's
I mean,
true.
that's real. Like,
Yeah, it is.
because the truth of the matter is the only way you learn in life is through experience, and those uncomfortable moments in life is what builds up your armor to pull from for the next experience. You know, like if you went through something, like if you foresee something happening and you're like, oh, that's gonna suck, but you're like, well, I remember when that other thing sucked. It's not as bad as that time. I could get, if I got through that, I could get through this. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like if you're just going to you're sheltering your kid and then throw them in therapy every time they're uncomfortable, they're never gonna build up that natural immunity to life's, you know, things.
Well, the idea that when they in that clip she mentioned about getting stuck in that I forget what she called it, but basically like the more you talk about if you're talking about how bad you feel every day, it
I
just
agree with that.
makes it worse and worse. So that's all you're focusing on as opposed to like going out and doing things or, being active. And it's funny, like so this book that we got put onto when my son was having I don't want to call it anxiety, but whatever, this nervous stuff going on. But it's kind of in line with that theory of like the more that you focus on it, the bigger and more consuming it gets. So
Yeah.
I'll find the book, but it was pretty interesting the way they framed it. They framed it like it's a worry bully, right? They gave a form to what you're feeling. And then so you've got this worry bully, and then uh the idea is that you only take like 15 minutes a day, like you have set worry time. And if you start feeling anxious during the day, you're worrying about things and you want to start asking people about it, it's like, not, go put it in the chest for right now until it's time to talk about it at worry time. And then at worry time, that's when it comes out. You talk about it. You dissect the truth from the worry, because all the worry bully is really trying to do is just poke at you no matter what and just
Mm.
amplify it. It could be anything, right? If you're not worried about something that you were the day before, that worry bully is going in there and trying to, just get
Stir shit
any
up.
stir shit up.
Yeah.
And essentially, the more that you think about it or the more that you give into it, it makes it grow. It makes the plants grow, like the worry. It just gets bigger and bigger. But if you're able to kind of compartmentalize it, push it away, talk about it in a limited amount of time, then the idea is as time goes on, you kind of have less and less worry during worry time because you're learning how to just push it down, deal with it at a certain point. You're not pouring water on it to give it life if it's a plant.
Right.
And you're telling this form that you can kind of see, like, get the hell out of here. You're done.
Yeah,
So
I know what you're trying to do,
yeah,
but no, not today, Satan.
right. Exactly. But to that lady's point, it's that I do believe that, like, you just sit there and now, granted, there's some people who have, you know, very debilitating disorders where
Right. Legitimate
it's
things.
hard.
Right.
Like you almost can't get out of your head, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's not a generational thing. I think that's for everybody. You know, and yeah, you have to get your mind off of things. Basically, is this,
yeah,
and the saying "this too shall pass" is legit. Um, I don't know if this necessarily correlates, but and I think I've talked about this before, but one of the things that I used to do when I was younger and like nervous about or anxious about things or worried about whether it be bullies or different things is I used to always think about war.
Oh yeah.
And because I would watch a lot of war movies and I would always be like, man, and and my pops was in Vietnam, and even though we weren't close, that was a big thing for me. And I would be like, I'm here worrying about going to school and dealing with A, B, and C. Meanwhile, these people were in the trenches and were in a foxhole and being shot at, or these guys in World War II. I used to be nervous about flying. I used to be like, man, these guys were in these, parachuting in Normandy and getting shot at, and the plane was, being shot at and it was shaking and they flew out and they went through the whole war and some of these guys survived. I'm like, what am I worried about? A little turbulence, you know, like these are the things that I would think about. And I was watching a whole other podcast about some whole other stuff, like a CIA Cuban guy, the guy who captured was a part of the capturing Che Guevara, right?
Mm.
Real hardcore dude. He's way old now, but he's like a hardcore dude's done a lot of stuff in his life. Was in Vietnam, was in all these different places. And he was talking about something that was interesting. He was saying that he would come home and he had kids, you know, from these different things that he was always constantly in. He was in the CIA, and this is Iran Contra, all this era that he's highly active. Um, and his kids would have like a cold or the flu and a fever, and his wife would be worried, and he would be like didn't give a damn. He's like, and his wife would be like, "What is wrong with you? This is your kids, and they're sick." And she's like worried sick about them. And the way he said on the podcast, I was like, this comes some real ass shit. He's like, man, I've seen kids missing limbs and people lose eyes and people get shot and survive, or you know, like all this craziness and people survive. You think I'm worried about my kid having a high fever? You know what I'm saying? In a non-war zone situation. He's like, maybe he said it was, you know, his bad in a way, but he's like, hey, they're gonna survive that
They'll
shit.
be all right.
You know?
They'll be all right.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, that's some real ass shit, man.
Yeah, that's true. But perspective plays a big role in all of that stuff, right? Because like even in both of those things you guys shared, like where you decide to focus your energy mentally is what will essentially become your reality, right? And then if that's the negative thing, then it's going to be a negative experience for you. If it's a positive, it'll come around. But the differentiator that I found, and I've been doing a lot of this like mindset stuff for a bit. You could dream about stuff, or you can decide that that's what you want and make it your intention to go pursue. But there's action that needs to take place, right? As far as that, it's not like just like, oh, yeah, I wish $1 million just fell on my lap, and then you're not doing nothing for the cause. You gotta be able to condition yourself to really like go get that, even when you're high or low. It doesn't matter. You got to still stay the course, because you might achieve a certain level of success beyond where you are today, and then you think, yo, that's it. But that's not necessarily the thing that you were really aiming at. But you settle.
Right.
And then the same thing on the flip, it's like, yo, if you go down negative town and you stay there, you're stuck. So you got to be able to like, and for our kids, like those examples of us sharing those experiences do a whole lot more than us just saying, yo, don't be down on yourself, blah, 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 because you can't really control their emotions like that. But they see you dealing with it in a particular way, they get a lot more benefit out of that.
Yeah, well,
So-
we always tell my son what my late father-in-law would always say: "What the mind can conceive and truly believe, it will achieve." That was
Yeah.
his quote. Yeah.
Yo, you know how many of those things are out there from
Mm.
centuries and centuries, and people just gloss over them? Those things are like
It's in all religious
superpowers
text.
in
It's
everything.
really in all religious texts. That's the one thing that I'm not a religious person, but the one thing I like is when you can find the common denominator in all religions. And there's different things, whether it's like dieting, like foods,
Yeah.
like you should eat, fasting, like different things. And there's truth in that. It has to be, because for all these religions from around the world to have these truths, you know, in common is a big deal. And that's one of them. The idea that, and it becomes a math and science thing, like the whole thing of like, you know, how everything works, kinetic energy and the ether, whatever. I'm using probably the wrong terms, you know, like just
The
throw
universe.
the graphic over me with E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
But the
That's
shit is real.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. Or if you flip it on the positive side, then
Which scares me because I think a lot of crazy shit. So I'm
Yeah.
like, God damn it. Stop it.
I mean, if you think about it, like we are here, humanity, the earth, everything that involves, you know, what our surroundings are, is all about more life, right? Doesn't matter if it's a weed growing or if it's a plant that can feed people. These things are going to grow. It's just a matter of what you feed them and what you want to grow and what you don't. So your mind is the same way. You can grow a whole bunch of weeds because you're feeding it garbage, or you can keep the farm clean, so to speak, and like really
Right.
feed it the nutrients that are going to keep it thriving. So it's the same thing, but it's such simple shit, profound, and it's hard because you got to shift mindsets. But at the same time, like the fruit that you bear is insane.
That was
All right.
weird.
I gotta go do some dad shit.
Go do some dad shit.
Go
Thank you for
get it,
listening.
motherfuckers. Let's go.
Right.
Fatherhoods.